Hello, my dear students. Jai Swaminarayan. So, students, this is our part 5 of chapter number 6, the life processes. So, now this is our part 5, and in our previous lecture, it means part 4, we have discussed about our transportation in humans. Okay. So, in human beings, we have seen our heart. Okay, our transport system organ our is heart, our pump, and we have also seen the oxygen enters the blood in the lungs. Okay, lung system, blood vessels, maintenance, we have seen all these funda, and now in today's lecture we are going to study transportation in plants, particular in plants. Okay, so we will focus on only plants for transportation meaning transportation of food, transportation of nutrients, transportation of water, transportation meaning from one place to another place. ओके, प्लांट्स के अंदर हमने जैसे देखा था ह्यूमंस के अंदर ब्लड कैसे सर्कुलेट होता है, कैसे हर एक सेल को ऑक्सीजन मिलता है, कैसे फूड मिलता है, कैसे वाटर मिलता है, वैसे ही प्लांट्स के अंदर रूट से ठेठ ऊपर तक कैसे पानी पहुंचता है, कैसे न्यूट्रिएंट्स पहुंचते हैं, वो सब हम देखेंगे. ओके, नाउ we have discussed earlier how plants take in simple compounds such as carbon dioxide and photosynthesis energy stored in their chlorophyll containing organs, namely the leaves. As we know, leaves contain chlorophyll containing organ meaning chloroplast. Okay, so chloroplast is a very important very important cell organelle in the plant cell. Okay, so the photosynthesis is important for the plants. They make their own food, they are autotrophic as we know. So, plants are autotrophic because the chlorophyll is there. Chlorophyll will photosynthesize energy from the sunlight. Okay, so plants take in simple compounds such as carbon dioxide and they photosynthesize through this chlorophyll. But other kinds of raw material needed for building plant bodies will also have to be taken up separately. दूसरे भी कुछ रॉ मटेरियल्स चाहिए, कुछ न्यूट्रिएंट्स चाहिए, तो उनको भी प्लांट्स को लेना चाहिए. वैसे कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड एनर्जी ये सब तो ले लेता है क्लोरोफिल से, लेकिन ये दूसरे मटेरियल्स कैसे लेता है, वी विल सी. फॉर प्लांट्स द सॉइल इज द नियरेस्ट एंड रिचेस्ट सोर्स ऑफ द रॉ मटेरियल्स like nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals. So here soil is very important for the plants because soil is nearest. Okay, roots are involved in soil, and richest, so richest meaning very rich in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals. So the absorption of these substances therefore occurs through the part in contact with the soil, namely the roots. As we know, roots are contact with the soil. Okay, because roots are attached in the soil. Now absorption meaning to taking up some nutrients substances is called as absorption. Absorb करना मतलब कुछ लेना. Okay, वहाँ से शोषण करना उसका. So the plant will absorb the substances from the root. Okay, from the roots and from the soil. Now if the distance between soil containing organs and chlorophyll containing organs are small, energy and raw material can easily diffuse to all parts of the plant body. Here is the example of for example small plants. In small plants the organs are small and energy and raw materials can easily diffuse होंगे, मतलब कि एक दूसरे के पास जाएंगे. ओके, सो सॉइल कंटेनिंग ऑर्गन्स एंड क्लोरोफिल कंटेनिंग ऑर्गन्स अगर दोनों पास पास में है, डिस्टेंस कम है उनके बीच में, तो ऐसे डिफ्यूजन होगा. बट इफ दिस डिस्टेंस बिकम लार्ज, ये डिस्टेंस अगर ज़्यादा हो जाएगा तो बिकॉज ऑफ चांसेस इन प्लांट बॉडी डिजाइन, डिफ्यूजन प्रोसेस विल नॉट बी सफिशियंट to provide the raw materials in leaves and energy in roots. Okay, so here if the distance is large, diffusion is not to be very sufficient. Okay, so that's why a proper system of transportation is essential in such situation. So there is a need of proper system of transportation in large distance. Okay, organs. So here we will see this proper system. Now energy needs differ between the different body designs. Energy needs is also different for every different organism or every different plant parts. Now plants do not move, and plant bodies have a large proportion of dead cells in many tissues. So there are many dead cells in many plant tissue. For example, in supporting, so in plants there are supporting tissues. So supporting tissues are made up of dead cells. डेड सेल्स का होना यहाँ जरूरी है, यहाँ पर लाइव सेल क्यों नहीं जरूरी है? बिकॉज डेड सेल्स को सिर्फ सपोर्ट ही देना है, सिर्फ खड़े रहना है, उनको और कोई काम नहीं करना है, जैसे कि ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है. ओके, दैट्स वाई डेड सेल्स आर रिक्वायर्ड इन सपोर्टिंग रोल. एज अ रिजल्ट प्लांट्स हैव लो एनर्जी नीड्स. सो लो एनर्जी नीड्स मीनिंग दे नीड very low energy need in comparatively to other organisms and can use the relatively slow transport system. So plants have slow transport system. The distance over which transport system have to operate, however, can be very large in plants such as very tall trees. So distance is very large in tall trees, okay, from root to the axis of plant, which transport system have to operate, however, can be very large. So here the transport system, the pipelines also have to be large. Now plant transport system will move energy stores from the leaves and raw material from the roots. Here very important thing, this is energy store from the leaves, meaning carbon dioxide, oxygen, photosynthesis, okay, occurs in leaves of the plants, and raw materials are transported from the roots. These two pathways are constructed as independently organized conducting tubes. So there are conducting tubes, as I already said about pipelines. Okay, so pipeline is informal word, but conducting tube is a formal word here, suitable word for our plants. Now two pathways, there are two pathways. First is energy storage in leaves and raw materials from the roots. So one is the xylem. Here is the very important term, xylem. XYLEM, xylem moves water and minerals obtained from the soil. So soil में से water and mineral को transport कौन करेगा? Xylem. Okay, xylem is a type of tissue. And other is phloem. Phloem is the another tissue that transports products of photosynthesis from the leaves where they are synthesized to other parts of the plants. So photosynthesis की जो product है जो लास्ट में फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्लूकोज है, सो वो सब ट्रांसपोर्ट कौन करेगा? फ्लोएम करेगा. सो हियर कीप इन माइंड जाइलम एंड फ्लोएम आर द टू वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टिश्यू फॉर द प्लांट, फॉर द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इन प्लांट. वी हैव स्टडीड द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ दिस टिश्यू इन डिटेल इन क्लास 9. Okay, we have already studied the structure of this xylem and phloem in our class 9th. So here you can see the diagram, or you can see the figure from the Google. Here these are the tissues, here specially xylem tissues that carry the water and dissolved mineral from the roots. Here you can see from the roots the water is transported to the axis by the xylem, and here you can see the another tissue, phloem. Phloem tissues carry the food down from the leaf. यहाँ जो लीफ में से जो फूड बनता है वो फ्लोएम में से आता है यहाँ पर. ओके, यू कैन सी यहाँ से जो देखो जो लीव्स है, लीव्स में से फूड बनेगा वो जाएगा ऊपर तक और नीचे रूट तक भी जाएगा. ओके, यू कैन सी हियर एरो. नाउ वाटर एंड मिनरल्स फ्रॉम द सॉइल हियर ट्रांसपोर्टेड. ओके, सो प्लीज कीप इन माइंड दिस एरोस. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. स्पेशली आई हैव copied from Google. Okay, so here you can see evaporation of the water from the leaves is called as transpiration. Here guys, another term, transpiration. Transpiration meaning the evaporation of water from the leaves. As we know, जैसे हम सुबह सुबह गार्डन में अगर चलेंगे तो हम पानी की बूंदें देखेंगे, drops of water. So that is evaporation of water. Okay, now transport of water, specially we are going to study water, how water is transported. So in xylem tissues, vessels and tracheids of the root. Tracheids is the type of cell which contains the water and which transport the water. So the xylem tissue, vessels and tracheids of the roots, stems and leaves are interconnected. Interconnected meaning they are connected between. Okay, so to form a continuous system of water conducting channels चैनल्स मीनिंग पाइपलाइन जो मैंने कहा था वो, एंड रीचिंग ऑल पार्ट्स ऑफ द प्लांट। ओके, सो प्लांट्स के हर एक पार्ट के पास ये पहुंचना जरूरी है। सो जाइलम टिश्यूज, वेसल्स, ट्रेकिड्स ऑफ द रूट, स्टेम्स एंड लीव्स आर इंटरकनेक्टेड, मतलब एक दूसरे से कनेक्टेड हैं, नेटवर्क है। एट द रूट्स सेल्स इन अ कॉन्टेक्ट विद द सॉइल एक्टिवली टेक अप द आयन्स। सो व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ रूट? रूट विल absorb the materials from the soil. So here specially ions. Okay, ions meaning sodium plus ion, potassium plus ion, calcium minus ions. Okay, so called as ion. Now this creates a difference in the concentration of these ions between the root and soil. So here taking up the ion and putting down the ions is create the differences in the concentration meaning the amount. So amount will be differ in the soils and in the plant system. Okay, so in the root, so there is a difference. Now water therefore moves into the roots from the soil to eliminate this difference. So this difference को हटाने के लिए water will move into the root. This means that there is a steady movement of water into the root xylem. So here the steady movement of water is required. Steady movement meaning continuous movement. Okay, continuous water को अंदर जाना चाहिए, बाहर आना चाहिए, movement water का continuous रहना चाहिए, creating a column of water that is steadily push upward. पानी को पंप, जैसे पंप कैसे पानी को ऊपर पहुंचाता है वैसे ही इसका काम ये है. So creating a column of water and is steadily push upwards. However, this pressure by itself is unlikely to be enough to move the water over the heights that we commonly see in plants. Okay, so this pressure is very important in plants because water have to move height, okay, at the highest highest part of the plant. So that's why this pressure is enough and required. Now plants use the another strategy to move water in xylem upwards to the highest point of the plant body. So there is another strategy also. Okay, strategy meaning for procedure, for example. So here provided that the plant has an adequate supply, adequate meaning enough supply of the water which is lost through the stomata replaced by the water from the xylem vessels in the leaf. Okay, as we know stomata is a structure in leaves. Okay, so in leaves stomata is a pore, opening closing pore for the using the water. Okay, so water can be lost from this stomata. Now this lost water is replaced by the xylem water. Okay, in fact evaporation of water molecules from the cells of a leaf creates a suction which pulls a water from the xylem. जैसे जैसे evaporation होगा water release होगा, water lost होगा. So this loss of water pulls the water, मतलब water को अपनी तरफ खींचेगा from the xylem cells of the roots. The loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as the transpiration. As I said earlier, transpiration meaning the loss of water in the form of vapor. Vapor meaning जो हवा में जो होता है जो plants का part, उसमें से जो transpiration होगा, जो evaporation होगा तो vapor होगी. Okay, just like that. So here vapor is like बाष्प, भाप जो हम बोलते हैं वो. Now thus transpiration helps in the absorption and upward the movement of water and minerals dissolved in it from the roots to the leaves. Now it also helps in temperature regulation. Okay, temperature को regulate करना भी जरूरी है. So this transpiration is also helps in the temperature regulation. कभी टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाएगा तो भी ये रेगुलेट करेगा, कभी टेम्परेचर कम हो जाएगा तो भी ये रेगुलेट करेगा. The effect of the root pressure in the transport of water is more important at night, where night में क्या होगा, sunlight नहीं होगी. Okay, so the effect of root pressure is important here in the night. Okay, so during the day, now day के अंदर क्या होगा, when the stomata are open, the transpiration pool becomes the major driving force in the movement of water in the xylem. So here in the day क्या होगा, stomata are open and the transpiration pool becomes the major in driving force in the movement of water in xylem. So xylem के अंदर water का मेजर फोर्स यहाँ पर क्रिएट होगा ड्यूरिंग द डे वेयर स्टोमेटा आर ओपन. So here you can see the movement of water during the transpiration. Here water vapor are released. You can say this is the aerial part of the plant, aerial part of particular plant, okay, whether it is tree or etc. And so this is in the air, that's why called as aerial system. Now let us consider how the products of metabolic processes, particularly photosynthesis, are moved from leaves where they are formed to the other parts of the plants. Okay, as we already say that the transpiration in plants of minerals, water, etc. But now how the products of metabolic processes, processes meaning the metabolism reactions are every organism. Okay, the metabolism is a character of living organism. Okay, so metabolic reactions, or we can say the chemical reactions. Now the products, how the products of this processes, for example photosynthesis. Okay, so photosynthesis is a type of metabolic process or type of chemical process in the plant. So the products, last products are glucose, for example amino acids, so are moved from the leaves where they are formed to other parts of the plant. So plants के हर एक parts को ये पहुंचना जरूरी है. This transport of soluble product of photosynthesis is called as translocation. Very important term here, translocation meaning the transport of the soluble products of photosynthesis. photosynthesis होने के बाद में जो भी products हमको मिलती हैं soluble products, so उसका transport जो होता है that is called as translocation, and it occurs in the part of a vascular tissue known as phloem. So here you can see the function of phloem, okay, where the phloem is functioning and how you can see here in the translocation. Now besides the product of photosynthesis, the phloem transport the amino acids. Very important, amino acids. What are amino acids? So guys, amino acids are the organic compound that forms the protein. Protein is very important, as we know, for the all organisms in living world. So the amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins. Okay, we can say in other words, proteins are made up of amino acids. जैसे एक एक दीवार से पूरा घर बनता है, वैसे ही एमिनो एसिड से प्रोटीन बनता है. These substances are the especially delivered to the storage organ of root. ये एमिनो एसिड फाइनली डिलीवर कहाँ होंगे? Where the storage organ of the root, fruits, seeds and to growing organs. Okay, as we know, these are the parts of plants: roots, fruits, seeds and growing organs. Now the translocation of food and other substances take place in the sieve tubes. Okay, here the sieve tubes are the specially for the translocation of food and other substances, for example amino acids, vitamins, etc., etc., with the help of adjacent companion cell both in upwards and the downward direction. You can see here, these are the sieve tubes, you can see, and near that companion cells are there. Here companion cells, this is the nucleus of particular cell. Okay, here you can see the microscopic diagram. Sieve plates are here, sieve tubes, okay, and companion cells are nearly neighboring there. So this is the structure of sieve tubes. So these sieve tubes are important in translocation of food and other substances. Okay, upwards and downward, मतलब ऊपर भी जाएगा नीचे भी आएगा. So important. Now unlike transport in the xylem, which can be largely explained by the simple physical forces, the translocation in phloem is achieved by the utilizing energy. Here is the another difference between xylem and phloem. So in the xylem no energy is required at all, but in the phloem energy is required. इसको energy जरूरी है. Material like sucrose, sucrose is a sugar. Okay, sucrose is a sugar. हम जो घर पे जो खाते हैं sugar, that is called as sucrose. Okay, so sucrose is a disaccharide and material like sucrose is transferred into the phloem tissue using energy from the ATP, adenosine triphosphate. What is the full form of ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is a rich source of energy for the cell, for the every cell of organism. So material like sucrose is transferred into phloem using this ATP. Now this increases the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing the water to move into it. Now osmotic pressure, so what do you mean by osmotic pressure? So there is a differences between the concentration both side, inside and outside, surrounding the cell. So osmotic pressure is created because of differences in the concentration. So now this increase the osmotic pressure of tissue, causing the water to move into it. So water will be move into the dead part. This pressure moves the material in phloem to the tissue which have the less pressure. Okay, so here osmotic pressure is increases, but the phloem, the pressure moves from the phloem to the tissue where the pressure is very less. So from the more to the less. Okay, so here is the differences. This allows the phloem to move material according to the plant's needs. Plants को जैसी requirement है उस वैसे ही वो material transfer करेगा. Okay, so this allows the phloem to move material according to the plant's needs. For example, in the spring is a season. Now sugar stored in the root system or stem system would be transported to the buds which need energy to grow. So here in the spring the sugars are storage form, sugar is in storage form. So this sugar will be utilized by the birds. Okay, birds are the plants of parts. Now birds which need energy to grow, bird grow होगा आगे जाके वो flower बनेगा, fruit बनेगा, etc. Now that's why the sugar is required and sugar is storage form. Now here our transportation in plants is finished. Now in next lecture or in next video we will study about excretion. Now what you mean by excretion? Excretion is a removing out the waste material from the cell. So excretion is very important for the human, for every organism. Okay, so we will study in our next lecture. So thank you and please keep making notes. This chapter is a part of our unit test 2. Our unit test 2. This chapter is included in that syllabus. So please prepare well. All the best. Jai Swaminarayan.